Good morning, Mystery Babylon. Hello, people around the world. All praise and glory to the Most High. And it is Saturday, August 8th, 2026. Now, for the childlike, fragile, eggshell minds at home, and you've been enjoying your summer. Hey, maybe, wherever you may be, your baseball team is doing good. You're getting ready for football camp, all your concerts, all your barbecues. And while these things do continue, and yes, they're, hey, enjoyable, there's a lot that goes on that, I don't know, maybe you're not aware, or hey, you are and you just don't care. So today is the anniversary of my grandfather's death. Newell Dwight Lindner, Navy chaplain, who died on August 8th, 1961. Now, God bless him, and in my own awkward, obtuse way, maybe I'm carrying on his work, but in a different manner. So we have a couple issues coming up down the pike, and one is the infamous August 12th date. And again, if you did a Zogby poll, a Fox News poll, Reuters, take your pick, AP poll, and hey, do you know about the Philadelphia experiment? Did you ever hear about the Montauk Project? Well, if you went out into any town USA around the United States and you asked those questions, they'd be like, tell me more. What's this about? Well, see, the good news is we're not going to get into all that today because it would take too long. And I've already done it. At least I think this would be my fourth time if I really dug deep into it again, and I might. But here's some of our issues. Every so-called individual that has tried to dip their toe and either research these conspiracies or they say they've been part of them, the one thing they have in common, folks, is they're all dropping like flies. Now this year, the main cast of characters, I have no clue who they are now. We know they're going to dredge up Swerdlow again, and he'll go through his whole spiel, change his story back and forth. If you've listened to this as long as I have, you'll see all the inconsistencies. Now, I'm going to try to be nice, but we are minus a few of these people that really have led the charge in trying to explain the Philadelphia experiment and how it relates to the Montauk Project. And one, namely James Rink, who, supposedly him and his cast of slippery, slimy, sleazy super soldiers were having their big super soldier convention in Florida, where the story goes, he suffered a directed energy attack that gave him a heart attack. Hey, at the young age of 40 something, right? Well, he said he was born in 1979, but remember, that was his second time around. So the point is, the baby Draco hybrid, the tear, he's no longer with us. So one of his dopey buddies is going to have to pick up the slack. Now, in the past, because, see, They don't know what they're talking about. And their imaginations, I tell you, wow, man, they should be Hollywood writers. They're gonna explain how they were all involved and within the Montauk Project and Preston and blah blah blah, and they're gonna try to convince you of all this nonsense. Now we're gonna move on real quick, so you're gonna have to catch up. Al told us, or we told Al, whoever he was, is that there were earth changes. A catastrophe took place, a natural disaster that shifted the land masses within the North American continent and changed it geographically. Now, the one problem we have is the dates that Al put out there, and he was pretty consistent. Between 2024 and 2025 have came and went. Now, bear in mind that, as I stated 10 years ago, these sad sack Satanists want to know when their time is up. Their demise, the redemption of Jacob, the time of Jacob's trouble, Daniel's 70th week. Over the course of 1,000 years, they've pinned down certain things as they see events happen, but they have the information that we need to tie this down. But now, because as we were informed in Daniel 12:4, knowledge will increase. And yes, knowledge is increasing, but not because of computers, cell phones. It's because people have took the time, the effort, and they have studied, researched, dug deep into scripture. And that's the knowledge that's increasing. And if it's everything is put together properly, all right, the job is to disseminate, share the gospel of Christ before his return. And these Satanists are put out of business. Now, there's a lot going on within this time frame, this timeline, but we know the controllers keep changing things. So here's the bottom line, all right? Anybody that thinks they were part of the Montauk Project, which essentially is a mind control project and all these other little aspects of it, Philadelphia experiment might have been 100% organic, but we know witchcraft is involved. And magic, hey, the use of Earth's natural energetic cycles. It's not just a bunch of, Machiavellian monsters, intellectual barbarians sitting in a laboratory, men who think they're smart and know something, and then putting together their Legoland toys, figuring stuff out. No. This information on how things function, how things work, is coming from a different dimension. Now, we're going to prove that right now. And how I do that is I go to one of my favorite books, and it's Winston Churchill's Diaries. And right after World War II, he began his diaries, and in 1949, they were published in a 6-volume, very meaty book series. And the volume I have is I have all the volumes, but the one that I focus on is volume 3, chapter 19, The Wizard War. And we're going to read this real quick and listen to what Winston Churchill was saying. And this concerns their ability to detect the German Luftwaffe as they were leaving France, crossing the Channel to do their raids throughout England. And they had just newly developed radar, right? It's an acronym, radio azimuth detecting, system that was in its infancy. Now, when we talk about the Philadelphia experiment, at the exact same time, few years separated, they were making this ship invisible, but somehow the equipment they had, everything, they were able to power up these generators, and the amount of electromagnetic energy, the amplitude and power of the electrical magnetic field was so powerful that the ship literally disappeared into hyperspace. It did become invisible. It literally disappeared. Now, what's interesting to me is just a couple years prior, England barely getting their radar system up and down the English coast. You hear the stories of what Einstein and all these T. Townsend Brown and Van Neumann, they're all advanced studies of whatever, Princeton and, the Chicago Institute, MIT, all that. Okay, they're fast at work. But there's really a discrepancy. Within a couple of years, somehow the technology, the Americans, magically, right? They're pulling rabbits out of their hat. So this is what Winston says in his Wizard of War chapter in his diaries. During the human struggle between the British and German air forces, between pilot and pilot, between fortitude of the British people. I wish I knew what the AA means at the moment. Can't dredge it up. Another conflict was going on step by step, month by month. This was a secret war whose battles were lost or won unknown to the public. And only with difficulty is it comprehended, even now, by those outside the small, high scientific circles concerned. No such warfare had ever been waged by mortal men. The terms in which it could be recorded or talked about were unintelligible to ordinary folk. Yet, if we had not mastered its profound meaning and used its mysteries even while we saw them only in a glimpse, what is he talking about right here? Now, this is where I wish I had the time to dissect sentence by sentence. But what he's talking about is, however this works, folks, they're tied into something, whether they had to throw, Isaac on the coals and sacrifice him up to get this information, they were doing it some way. So we are talking about the profound meaning and used its mysteries even while we saw them only in a glimpse. All the efforts, all the prowess of the fighting airmen, all the bravery, sacrifices of the people would be in vain. Unless British science had proved superior to German, and unless its strange, sinister resources had been effectively brought to bear on the struggle for survival, we might well have been defeated, and being defeated, destroyed. A wit wrote 10 years ago, "The leaders of thought have reached the horizons of human reason, but all the wires were down, and they could only communicate with us by unintelligible signals. Yet, upon the discerning of these signals, upon the taking of right and timely action on the impressions recorded, meaning the radar picking up these planes, depended on the national fate and much else. Now, here's something interesting. His head scientist was a Mr. Linderman. I find that fascinating. And he goes in, progress in every branch of radar was constant and unceasing in 1939. So you can imagine that they are around the clock, tuning up this radar system. But all the while, the Americans are going a different path. They're working on an invisibility project. How can we be invisible to the enemy? All this makes sense. What doesn't make sense is how August 12th, 1983, out on Montauk Island on Camp Hero, Montauk Project, how in the world does this get put into the mix? Well, we know the story, and we know this year they're going to dredge up again all these dunderheads, these terrors, these baby Draco, creepy chameleon, dirty dog Draco, hybrid Hollywood hacks that pretend to be something they're not, social media frauds that YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, BitChute all promote. And they're going to explain to you about the Montauk Project and the Philadelphia experiment. Well, the main players are all dead and gone except me. I know where I fit into this. And they've been on, right now, a 12-year damage control program to shut me up, to make sure my story doesn't get told. Remember, these sad sack Satanists only have one side of the story. And then when someone can push back with the truth against their lies, they will go through hell and high water, damn the torpedoes. Shit, they'll spend millions of dollars a year to make sure that individual has no way to get his information out. Can't be done legally, can't be done medically. Why are these tracking implants in my teeth throughout my body? Who put them there, Mr. Trump? We're going to figure it out. Don't worry. And good luck.